This is my Super Mario All-Stars All 4 Any Percent PAL Record Speedrun. What a mouthful, what does it all mean? To strip it right down to basics, a speedrun is a playthrough of a video game performed with the intention of completing it as quickly as possible. Super Mario All-Stars was a compilation title on the Super Nintendo, which had the first 4 Super Mario Bros. Games. So that's Super Mario Bros., Super Mario Bros. 2, Super Mario Bros. 3, and a game referred to as The Lost Levels, which in Japan was the second game in the series, though elsewhere it was never released, apparently because it was deemed too difficult and maybe not different enough for an overseas audience. Until Super Mario All-Stars came out, of course. The Lost Levels uses the same engine as the original Super Mario Bros., and it is nails. It plays a bit like an expansion pack for the original game. PAL just means I'm playing the European version of Super Mario All-Stars. There are 3 regional versions of the game, European, American, and Japanese, and they're all slightly different. Notably, the European version is a little bit slower, which means that it doesn't really make sense to compare times across each region. So the old European version record for beating all 4 games in a row was 51 minutes and 27 seconds, set by an Australian speedrunner called 82. I ran this record attempt at a live event in Cardiff run by the Arcade Vaults, and it was a lot of fun. We played 82's old record run at the same time on a TV set to my left, so it was presented a bit like a head-to-head race, which made it quite a bit more engaging, and there was a fair crowd for it. I really enjoyed it. So the speedrun starts with the Lost Levels, just to get it out of the way, because it's the hardest game out of the 4. Here we go. Not much to say about level 1-1. It goes smoothly enough. Could have taken the pipes a bit better, and probably stopped and started a little less, but I'm going for consistency over anything too daring precisely because it's a live event. There's no opportunity to start over, and I can't afford many deaths if I want to break the record. Then we got 1-2, which is an underground stage where we're going to be making use of our first warp zone to skip ahead in the game. This one's really well hidden. If you complete the level the normal way instead, you just continue through World 1, but we use warps in every game in this category to get to the end more quickly. In each game they work a bit differently, but they're the biggest time savers in the whole speedrun, because using them means that we don't have to complete every level. If you're interested in watching speedruns where the runner does complete every level, that's what's known as a 100% run, and they certainly exist for this category. The record for 100% on the Japanese version of Super Mario All-Stars is 2 hours and 40 minutes, so it just wouldn't be feasible to attempt something that long at a live event like this. Jumping down the pipe here would have taken me to a bonus stage that then loops back into the middle of 1-2. But thankfully there were invisible blocks, so we scale the wall and we reach the warp zone pipe straight to World 4. In this stage, Lakitu tries to throw spinies down at Mario, just like 4-1 in Super Mario Bros., but harder. A lot of the Lost Level stages seem to mirror the original game in some way, but add strange twists or just ramp up the difficulty. For example, this is the first appearance in the game of red piranha plants, which weren't in the original Super Mario Bros. Green piranha plants won't pop out of their pipes if Mario is touching the side of the pipe, but red piranha plants don't care, and they'll pop out anyway. And now for the rest of the Lost Levels, there are no green piranha plants, it's red all the way. (4-2). I immediately take damage. Ironically, I think if I hadn't grabbed a mushroom in the previous level, that bullet bill probably would have gone straight over Small Mario's head. I take the Hammer Bros just fine. They actually get out of my way, which is nice. I guess they sense that I'm on a speedrun and decide to just leave me to it. I panic at the end, and I end up having to jump over the lake instead of taking the easier top path, and I hesitate for a second. It's not the end of the world though, and it's better than losing a life. (4-3) is platforms and bullet bills, just like many -3 levels in the original game. The bullet bills start in the second half of the stage, and the first one is always out to get me by appearing in exactly the wrong place, as you'll see. They're supposed to be random, but I think the randomness is somewhat determined by Mario's movement, so in my case this one always manages to throw me for a loop. I recover though, and the rest of the stage is alright. "4-4, my first big mistake. So, there's a safety mushroom in the first set of item boxes, but I've learned to ignore it because it wastes a little bit of time and the level is actually quicker to navigate as small Mario anyway. If I run as fast as I can, the game neglects to load a fire bar here, which means I have less to worry about when jumping over this hammer bro. And then I jump right into Bowser, for no reason at all. That mistake costs me about 40 seconds. The second attempt I still don't go for the safety mushroom, though I'm sorely tempted to. A little more care against Bowser this time and we'll make it. And that's the halfway point for lost levels. "5-1 is really weird. It keeps trying to fake you out with stairways that don't actually lead to a flagpole, and then at the end there isn't a stairway, just a great big wall and some invisible blocks, like we saw in 1-2. It looks like a dead end, but it isn't. And players that don't know any better might wait for the timer to run out or something at this point, I don't know. It's very lost levels. Coming up, we've got my second mistake. Thankfully, it's just at the start of the stage, so it's not super costly. It makes me a bit nervous though, and on my second attempt I do slow down a little bit, which is not something you want to say about a speedrun. But 20 seconds in, I brush it off and I pick the pace back up. One of the worst jumps in Lost levels is in this stage. I have a tendency to miss an upcoming vine block, or hit it and then bounce off into a pit. As it happens, I do miss it, but recover and hit it on the second attempt. Then it's plain sailing. An above-ground warp zone allows me to travel to World 8, which is where the real game begins. Everything up until now was really just an introduction. I move in a specific way at the start of the level, doubling back on myself for a brief spell. This loads the paratrooper into the right place to bounce off, and it also seems to persuade the first hammer bro to jump over my head, and the second hammer bro to jump off the stairs and out of my way. It doesn't happen all the time, but it's consistent enough that it's a setup I go for every time. "8-2. Okay, so this one, there's a mushroom at the start, and I don't have to take it, but it makes a certain jump easier later. Unfortunately, it also makes the start of the next level harder, so this is probably me not thinking especially long term. And this is the jump. It's super simple as Big Mario. It's a bit more challenging to hit the vine block as Small Mario, and if you miss it, you don't get another chance, so you have to throw yourself into the pit. And then the flagpole is hidden up here, which is a bit crazy. If you just keep running to the right instead, the level eventually loops back on itself. There's not much more I can say here, I just shouldn't have picked up that mushroom. So this level should be easier now as Small Mario. As a bonus, I run fast enough to unload some platforms that I'm supposed to jump across, which would have taken more time. Hammer Bros. First set is fine, no problem. There's also some hidden blocks scattered around by here that are designed to break your jumps and make you land in the Hammer Bros or just bounce you into projectiles. And then for no particular reason, I take a jump really badly, and it costs me 30 seconds. And this final attempt is smoother. Neither set of Hammer Bros causes me problems. I hit the last set of hidden blocks straight away, and I use them to jump to the end of the level. In the original NES version of the game, there are regular blocks, but they're obscured by the background, so you can jump straight onto them and complete the level a little bit faster. But in the SNES version, this level takes place in the clouds instead, so they redesigned the blocks to be hidden blocks. I quite like the redesign. 8-4, here we go, the culmination. This level is insane. So we do this awkward backward jump into the nook, just to give us enough clearance to make it over a lava pit, timing our jump so as not to get immediately flamed. Then it's a very precise jump over more lava, a podaboo and a paratrooper, and that's the first part out of the way. The second part is underwater, that's fine. The bloopers move according to which direction Mario is facing, and realising this makes it much easier to stay out of their way. There's a hidden mushroom block in the upcoming third section, but later parts of the level are easier as Small Mario, so we leave it there. This edgy jump is no good for my heart rate, but I nail it first time, and we continue. Part 4, I've more or less worked out. There are hidden blocks that try to get in your way, and if you don't use the moving platform to cross the lava, the game just keeps looping this one section, which is weird and completely unnecessary. Impossibly, this jump here is scarier than that edgy jump in the previous room. Bit nuts, really. And the last section. Bowser's chilling out here for no real reason, but we can't hurt him yet, so we'll catch up with him later. A little further, and oh hey, that's much more convenient. Hit the axe, assume that Bowser dies, reset, and move on to the next game. We also probably save the princess. 1 down, 3 to go. So Super Mario Bros. And the Lost levels end when I touch that axe. Super Mario Bros. 2 and 3 end when I enter a door after beating their final bosses. And for any given game, it's deemed to have ended whenever the player loses control of Mario for the final time. Super Mario Bros. Is next on our list.